Hello, welcome back. In this video, we will explore how we choose between alternatives and um, why our choices sometimes surprise us and what you can do to better your decisions. That's what we'll try to address in this particular video lecture. Okay, so take a moment to look at this photo of two diverging paths. Imagine standing here. Each path presents a set of options. In real life, your paths might be different. Um, Study methods, course choices, or career path. Notice your gut reaction. Do you have left or right inclination? Keep that in mind. We'll return to how framing shapes those split-second judgments we always make. Okay, so before we dig in, take a moment and try to reflect on a recent decision you've made. Perhaps deciding what to eat, what assignment to tackle first, or which article to read. How did you choose? Did you list pros and cons, or did you follow your hunch? I invite you to pause this video now and jot down your process in one or two sentences and try to review this after you are done listening to this video lecture. Thank you. Okay, here is a quick outlook of what we will be trying to accomplish and try to understand in this particular video lecture. So we'll start with the framework for decision making first. Well, how to make decisions. While there is no one clear-cut solution to this, there is a framework which not doesn't guarantee you the success, but would definitely put you on the right direction. So there is this framework of 5 steps, and it kind of provides a clear framework and steps, processes that you need to go over to make a decision. The first one is frame the problem. So when you're framing a problem, you are trying to define exactly what you're deciding. Should I focus on reading chapter 9 today, or should I start working on my paper? So once you frame the problem, try to generate options. Then at this time, you have to list at least 3 possibilities, even the unconventional ones. The third step is to gather information, estimate the time required to finish that, the difficulty level of it, and the benefits for each option. Number 4, weigh the benefits and costs. Create a simple pros and cons table uh, and assign scores 1 through 5. Then the fifth step is make the choice. Select the option that scores highest or feels right for you. And once you've selected, review it again. That's the sixth step, which is afterward reflect what went well, what would you change. This will help you prepare to make the right decision the next time. So this systematic approach prevents jumping to conclusions and helps you learn from every decision you make. Okay, so the key points that you need to keep in mind when making decisions. The 2 truths about human decision makers. Number 1, we are not purely logical. We wish we were, but we are not. We are emotional creatures. So emotions shape our judgments. Emotions can be excitement or anxiety provoking, whatever these are. Emotions do shape our judgments. Be aware of that. The other truth is that we are limited, bounded by the amount of time we have to make a decision, the amount of information that is at hand, or the amount of our mental energy that is required. Keep in mind, we can't go through everything, every possibility. Then there is this concept called heuristic. And if you define problem solving decision making as a process of finding a solution or making a choice by using a strategy, heuristics is one of those strategies. Heuristics is one such strategy where it will not guarantee you the right answer, but it will help you navigate through the process of finding an answer quickly. Okay. So it's like a mental shortcut. It helps us decide quickly, but sometimes lead us astray. Awareness of these factors is a first step towards more deliberate choices. Okay, so the question is, do we use the expected utility theory that economists think that we use when we make decisions, or do we not use it and go through some patterns of thinking full of fallacies? That's what Kahneman and Tversky have proposed. They call it the prospect theory. So expected traditional economics teaches expected utility theory, where they think that people multiply each outcome's value by its probability, then sum to pick the highest total. But in reality, people do not follow logical steps of decision making. Instead, they follow what Kahneman and Tversky call it prospect theory. Now, what we do is we evaluate our gains and losses relative to a reference point, often the status quo you are in, not based on the actual difference between the two options, but relative to a reference point. We show loss aversion, meaning that we feel like losing $20 feels about twice as painful as gaining $20 feels pleasurable. There is the concept of diminishing sensitivity. This is the idea that the difference between $0 and $10 feels much bigger than the difference between $100 and $110. Now keep these patterns of thinking in mind when you weigh study breaks against extra reading time. Okay, so decision making and uncertainty. So, under uncertain circumstances, when the outcomes are not clear, two biases seem to emerge over and over again. One is the loss aversion, the other one is endowment effect. Loss aversion is that you may reject a favorable coin flip bet that wins $10 or loses $9, even though the expected value is positive. Endowment effect is that once you own something, like a pen, book, or whatever, a cup, you value it more and demand a higher price to give it up than you would to pay to acquire it. So these are the evolutionary heuristics or shortcuts that help us or our ancestors to survive danger. But it can hinder the rational academic choices you make. So be mindful of it. Okay, so framing effect. So Tversky and Kahneman's classic study, right? In this study, they present two equivalent scenarios. These two scenarios present to two different groups. These scenarios are the same. One group is called the gain frame group. They are presented with programs A and B and asked to choose between those two programs. The loss frame group is presented with C and D as the two programs and asked to prefer one over the other. Now, there is no actual difference in terms of the content that is presented to both in terms of making the decision. The only difference is the way it is presented. That's why it's a framing study. The participants in the game frame read something like this. Program A will save 200 people versus program B has a one-third chance to save all 600 people. 72% chose the sure save option, which is 200 people. The last frame group. Program C will lead to 400 deaths versus Program D has one-third chance that no one dies. 78% chose the risky gamble. So identical facts, but just switching saved to died flipped the preferences. So when you encounter differently worded advices, focus areas, weak points, make sure that you translate them from negative or positive framing into neutral ones to see the actual true data behind it. Okay, so I love this book. I actually read this book. This book is called The Paradox of Choices. Barry Schwartz. Uh, what he does is he shows in this book that more options can actually reduce your happiness. Just think of it. You need pants. You don't need the perfect pants. In search for the perfect pants with the perfect price and the deal, we end up buying things we later question and compare it to those purchases where others would have bought it at a better rate or better fare. So another example, think of streaming services with 500 movies. Did you ever spend like 20 minutes just scrolling and end up watching nothing? Well, that happens to me all the time. Limiting your choices to a short list, say 3 films, often speeds decisions and helps you, and often the speeded decisions will boost your satisfaction. Okay, so in a supermarket study, shoppers at a table displaying 24 jams were found to be more likely to stop than those at a 6 jam table. But the 6 jam table group was 10 times more likely to purchase and reported higher satisfaction afterwards. So when you try to choose project topics or research papers, try narrowing your options to top 3. This will reduce decision fatigue. Well, researchers have identified 2 decision-making personalities. People, looks like, fall into 2 broader styles. You are a maximizer or a satisficer. A maximizer seeks the best possible outcome. They research extensively but often feel less satisfied, as we were talking about in the hierarchy of choices. Then there are satisficers. They set clear criteria, choose good enough item and move on, reporting higher well-being. So recognizing your style can help you adjust. If you are a maximizer, impose time limits. If you are a satisfier, ensure you are not overlooking some critical details. Well, barriers to decision making. Uh, have you ever tried to find something and spend the rest of the day with multiple tabs being open? Well, there are some barriers that's hard to get over. So even with knowledge of biases, these roadblocks can derail us. So something to keep in mind when you're trying to make a decision and get lost. One is information load. Too many tabs, too many sources, meaning that doing extensive research more than required may not be worth it, and it will hinder making a good choice. Time pressure. If you wait till the last minute, right? So, or the deadlines will force you make quick decisions when it may not be good. Your state of emotional states, like your anxiety or excitement, may actually skew your risk tolerance. Social pressure sometimes, like peer norms, can push you toward or away from a particular option. Identify these barriers. Try to see which are the most frequent ones you encounter, like setting a 5-minute rule to close tabs or scheduling decision checkpoints. All this would help you learn to be a good decision maker over time. So remember in earlier slides, we talked about how problem decision making is like problem solving, where you try to find a solution or make a decision based on a strategy. Some strategies guarantee you a solution, others don't. So one such strategy is algorithm. Algorithm is like a step-by-step process of finding the right answer. For instance, if I ask you 22 times 23, can you answer that? Well, I'm sure you will if you follow the step-by-step process of making this multiplication table, work through the problem, you'll figure it out, but it's time consuming, right? So also the algorithm in generals are like step-by-step processes. Um, for example, a weighted scoring model in the Excel that guarantee an optimal solution if properly specified, but require a lot of time and effort. Heuristics, on the other hand, are quick mental shortcuts. For instance, you can choose the median price that save time but can lead to predictable errors. For major choices, combine both. Start with a heuristic filter, then verify the top picks with an algorithmic checks. Again, there is no one right answer. Okay, beyond heuristics, watch for wishful thinking, which is overestimating positive outcome. I'll definitely get an A. Sunk cost fallacy, sticking with underperforming projects because you have invested time already. Psychological reactance, which is resisting compulsory tasks, even if they are good for you. Um, Mere exposure effect, preferring materials you've seen before, regardless of the quality. Mood congruent memory, recalling information that matches your current mood, reinforcing it, and periodically ask, am I choosing this because it is truly best or because one of these forces? There are other influence effects, like our social environment shapes our choices too, right? It's called, there is cognitive dissonance. After choosing, we adjust beliefs to reduce our discomfort. This class must be great since I invested so much effort into it. Foot in the door. Agreeing to a small favor makes you likely to comply with a larger request later. Hindsight bias. I knew it all along. Once you know the outcome, it seems obvious. In group work or peer feedback, assign roles like devil's advocates to surface hidden pressures. Okay, how can we reduce the bias, right? Perspective taking is one way. One of the most powerful um, debiasing technique is perspective taking. Actively imagining another person's viewpoint. Research shows negotiators who role play their counterpart reach more equitable agreements. Next time you debate a peer or review a paper, pause and articulate their position in your own words. It will make a big difference. Now, evaluating decisions using a structured tool. When stakes are high, use these tools. Like for instance, you can use the tool of elimination by aspects, which is list all options, identify non-negotiable features, and eliminate any option lacking them, and repeat with next priority feature until one remains. Then there is a weighted scoring worksheet, which is define 3 to 5 criteria, example, time investment, learning value. Assign each way, total 100%, rate each option 1 through 10, multiply and sum to get a total score. These methods bring clarity and confidence to big choices like internships or research topics. Okay, to conclude, uh, just practice these concepts today and try to apply them to the 6-step framework to smaller choices and keep working. We'll see you in the next video.